All right. Welcome back to the channel, 656 Sports and Things. I'm your host, Nathan. Something that's been bugging me for the past couple of years, actually. When I moved back to Newfoundland, I found it funny how we didn't have a junior team. For those of you who aren't from Newfoundland who listen to this, Newfoundland is the only province in Canada that doesn't have a CHL team, which I find extremely funny. They've always had like semi-pro teams, so like they had an AHL team before. Right now they have an ECHL team, which is all well and good. Yes, they have had a Qmjhl team in the past, St. John's Flag Devils. It lasted all of 3 years and didn't really work. Now, that could have been a lot of reasons, but the thing I always find funny is we always get hockey teams. They always leave. Yes, the Growlers right now are playing in Mile on our ECHL team. They have a 10-year lease with that building, but right now, for those of you who have been living under a rock since the start of the decade, it's about April. No one's been able to play anywhere. It's been really hard to play. And with them only being the second ECHL team in Canada, every other team that plays in the ECHL is in the US except Brampton. It's really hard to get fans into Mile 1 to play hockey when you just can't leave. It's even worse, you'd have to do a 14-day quarantine to get into the States. It's even worse in Newfoundland, as Ontario is outside our Atlantic bubble. To go from Newfoundland to anywhere else besides the neighbors of PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Cape Breton, all that fun jazz, you have to quarantine for 14 days. So you'd have to quarantine for 14 days coming to, 14 days coming back, so you're looking at 28 days. And there's a lot more costs associated with that than usual. Yes, I do understand that people on this video, it's just my opinion, you're not taking this fact, will say, yes, we had a Qmjhl team, but it's never worked. It never worked in the past. Yes, we did have a Qmjhl team, and it didn't work in the past. And we've had AHL teams, and it does work, but they always leave. When we started getting the AHL teams, it made sense, because there was more AHL teams in the region. At the time, you had a team here in Halifax. You had a team in PEI at one point. You had a team in Cape Breton. You had a team in Moncton. You had a team in St. John's. Or St. John, New Brunswick. It made more sense because of travel costs. It's a hell of a lot cheaper to fly to Halifax and play hockey than to fly to, say, Florida or Orlando or upstate New York and play. So that travel thing never really got me because we're flying all over creation to play ice hockey anyway. Wouldn't it cost less to fly within our own country than to fly outside of the country? I might be wrong, but it just makes sense to me. The ECHL in the North Divisions, we play teams like Maine. We play teams like Maine. We play teams like Brampton. We play teams that are close to our rivals, that are close to geography, so we'll cut down on costs, but yet still a fortune to get anywhere. Yes, it is a fortune to get on and off the island of Newfoundland. Yeah, I understand that's all well and good, but we're already leaving the island anyway. So wouldn't you want to bring your costs down and just travel? Like, it's probably a lot easier to go back than it is to get to upstate New York. Probably a lot cheaper. I don't know, I don't book flights there often, but it seems more logically. And right now, if we can't open the border, there's two options for the Growlers and the Beast. It's to also play out your game in the States or sit out the whole year. And if you sit out a whole year, what happens to the stadium? How do you keep generating revenue for that stadium? If there aren't games there, yes, St. John's does have the edge in the National Basketball League of Canada. However, if they're not playing this year, how does that team generate revenue? And in my personal opinion with them, I think they would just play other teams in Atlantic Canada. So they would play Halifax Hurricanes, the Moncton Magic, St. John's Riptide if they come back, Cape Breton Islanders, and I'm forgetting a team here, aren't I? The Island Storm, PEI. So that would actually make more sense. One of the big differences between a junior team is, let's just hypothetically say you're a 15-year-old child playing hockey in Newfoundland. Well, and his dream is to make the NHL. Yes, there are players who've been in the ECHL who has went up. However, most players in any draft come from the Canadian Hockey League. It's just how it is. They play some level of high junior. So it's a little easier if you're 14, 10, getting into hockey, to have a goal of making a junior league than it is to go straight from making the NHL. It's like if you were to lift weights and someone told you to pick up a 500-pound weight and you've never lifted before you can lift that 500-pound weight, you simply have to lift a 100-pound weight. Then you have to lift a 200-pound weight and so on. So it's easier for kids to play junior coming out and get that confidence. They go straight to the NHL. They might never play a game in the NHL if they play junior. More players come out of the junior league and play and have long careers than play in the ECHL. And most ECHL players have some form of junior. They play at least some junior hockey. Now, if you're watching this video and you're in Newfoundland, you're probably aware that St. John's does have a junior league, the St. John's Junior League. Yeah, it's all well and good, and that doesn't really sell well. So you're like, well, why do we have junior hockey here? It's not going to sell well, it doesn't sell well here. Yes, we do have junior hockey. However, it's essentially 2 tiers down. So, yes, people don't go and see it because it's 2 tiers down, it's lower tier junior. It'd be like going to an NBA, like a G League team or a G League game in the NBA, or a National Basketball League game in Canada, and expecting to see NBA quality players. It's just 2 tiers down. You're not going to get the same amount. All right, and it's a lot easier to get people who are 15 and 16 and pay tickets to watch them and cut the travel down, because if you were to be in Quebec, in the Quebec Major Junior League, the farthest you would really fly is Quebec. You could even do it in such a way that the majority of your games would be against teams in the Maritimes, which you're doing right now. The best example I can think of for this would be in the WHL, and Victoria Royals play on Vancouver Island, the only team that plays on the island. Most of their games are against teams within their division. So you don't have to travel as far. It saves them money. And because it's amateur, you don't actually have to pay the players as much. You don't actually have to pay the players, they're amateurs. That's how you make money in junior hockey. Also, junior hockey is broadcast on TV. Not a lot, but there is a broadcast package. I can't remember ever seeing an ECHL game. That's a lie. There are some local games on Rogers TV in Newfoundland, and they do have Flow Sports, but that's not as accessible. It would just make more sense to me if you had a junior team. Another thing is, if you're a 15-year-old kid who's growing up in Newfoundland who's about to be drafted into the Q, it's really hard to convince a kid who's 15 to go to Quebec. When he doesn't speak the language, his family's never left the island. That's a lot to put on a 15-year-old kid or a 14-year-old kid being drafted into the Q. That's a lot to put on someone. It would make it a smidge easier if there was a team in St. John's. Yes, if you're living in Fogo Island or Gander, Newfoundland, or Lousport, or Corner Brook, or any league like that, yes, it is harder, but it's a lot easier to relocate to St. John's than it is to relocate to, trying to think of the Quebec team, Quebec City. Be a little bit easier. At least you know where St. John's is, or you know where Halifax is, or you know where Summerside PEI is. That's not as hard. So this is food for thought. There's no right or wrong answer to this. I just think we should have a Qmjhl team, make it easier to develop players. A lot more players will be playing hockey. Hockey is a more expensive sport. However, if you can start building pathways for younger people to play the game at a higher level, you might not get any more Newfoundlanders making the NHL. However, there's another pathway, and if you can see it, it's easier to do. It's easier to make $1 million if you know a millionaire than it is to make $1 million if you don't. It's in your mind more. Yes, and I know St. John's had a Qmjhl team that didn't last, but let's be honest, since then we've had 2 versions of the St. John's Ice Caps in the AHL and 1 version of the Newfoundland Growlers. And right now the Growlers aren't even playing. Until that border opens, we don't even know when they'll play again. They were a Q team, right now they'll be playing. Something to think about. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you're just browsing your way upon this video. Have a great day. Bye.